my brain instantly went to the origin of that fear, what it was connected to.
Hi, I'm Jason Phillips. I'm a licensed mental health clinician known as the confidence expert. With over 10 years of experience in the mental health field and coaching profession, I'm an expert in evidence-based treatment and strategic goal setting to foster success. As a speaker, I frequently present on topics including emotional wellness in the workplace, effective communication, mental health 101, and trauma-informed care. When you're looking for an informative, educational, and engaging speaker, contact Jason Phillips with Peace and Prosperity Coaching. Yeah, so welcome back, y'all, to another episode of the Peace and Prosperity Podcast. Today, we got an amazing therapist, Miss Yunetta Spring. Go ahead, Yunetta. Introduce yourself.
Hey, glad to be here. Thank you for having me, Jason. Yes, I'm Yunetta Spring. Yunetta Spring Smith is my full government name. And I'm a therapist in Tennessee. So I'm based in Clarksville, Tennessee. I have a private practice, Springforthcounseling. Been here for about going on 7 years in private practice. And then I also have a coaching and consulting company that I'm building centered around EMDR and helping folks become more like culturally competent and get trained in EMDR. So that's Groundbreaker's therapy. I'm enjoying that a lot. So I'm excited to be here. Like, I feel like we, buddies already. We've been following each other for so long, and it's good to have a conversation with you.
I was going to say, let me get my, you also have a workbook too.
Yeah.
Like you got a whole workbook.
Yeah, I got a whole workbook. So over the pandemic, I created the self-care strategy workbook. So it's called Take the Struggle Out of Self-Care.
So we're talking about the
retrograde or something. Are we in the retrograde or something? I don't know. But yeah, the self-care strategy workbook I created was just something that I felt like could be useful for people who, like, if you're in therapy or you're thinking about therapy, or you just kind of want to work on improving and enhancing your self-care, kind of thinking about some of the things that I say to my clients over and over again, or things we work on together in the onset of therapy. So I just put it all together in a workbook and, as a resource for folks.
Yeah. So we're going to get into EMDR. You know that.
Yeah.
You know that, because I mean, you're the GOAT when it comes to EMDR. But first, just tell everybody, or really tell me, like, what got you into wanting to be a therapist? Because, not everybody wants to do what we do.
I think my wounds brought me to this profession, but it was kind of hidden under my desire to help people, or my desire to just kind of looking at my personality, my characteristics, like I'm the person that everybody can talk to, or people just tell me about their problems easily, or I'm always trying to be solution oriented, and I just wanted to I've always been like a peacemaker. I've always been helpful. So that's kind of what led me here. But then once I got here, I realized, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But those are some wounds in there.
Yeah. When you say your wound, what do you mean?
I mean, my trauma, my experience with childhood trauma, and my desire to not want to see other people suffer or experience that. My desire to want other people to know that that there's somebody there that cares, that can help you navigate through this. That's kind of what led me to this profession.
Now, did you know it was childhood trauma? Because I feel like a lot of stuff that we experience, like, until I became a therapist, and even after working as a therapist for a while, like, a lot of things were just normalized.
Yeah. I didn't know half the stuff I experienced was trauma. Like, oh, that's not supposed to happen.
Right.
That's not normal, So, a lot of our trauma is kind of interwoven into culture, and how we generationally, how we're raised, what we're exposed to, what we experience. So now we have a name for it. But, back then we were just living life, doing the best we can. what
Yeah.
we had.
How do you, because I think some people will wonder, like, well, how can you help other people if you are dealing with your own trauma as well? Like, how does that work?
What better person to help other people than people who can relate to,
Mm,
what that experience is like. So I think, we all have our wounds, and I think that makes us more in tune to recognize them, whereas somebody might not even see it, or things could fall under the radar. So
yeah.
I feel like it makes me more equipped actually to be good at my job because of my experiences.
That's really on point too. So it's like basically it's better because you know what people are talking about. You've been there, you can relate to them. So it actually
Hmm.
enhances you more than somebody who may not have experienced some of these things because you have experienced
Hmm.
it. Plus, you got the skills to address it too.
Right, right. And
Yeah.
I'm, I feel like we're constantly healing, right? We don't,
Hmm.
I feel like healed is something that, I don't know, but it's a process, right? So the further I am in my process of healing, then the more I can
Hmm.
help people who may not be as far in that process.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I was going to ask you, like, do your clients ever ask you, like, have you been through this or can you relate to that?
Hmm. Don't be in my business like that. That ain't no. Why
No,
you in my
because
business? Yeah, no, I don't think my clients. I'm trying to think. Have I had any clients that have asked me? Not directly. I self-disclose when it's appropriate.
right.
And I feel like it's necessary and impactful. But I don't think I've ever had a client to like confront me or say, do you know what
Yeah.
I'm dealing with? No, I don't think so. Not yet. They might
Yeah,
try
not
now.
yet. I think no, if they ain't done it by now, they ain't gonna like.
Yeah.
It happened to me. I was an intern. I remember working
Mhm.
in substance abuse with like people who were in halfway houses. So they had to go to treatment, but then they also were very heavily monitored. And we were
Mhm.
driving the clients back to their house, and
Mhm.
I'm in the passenger with the other therapist, and one of the clients leaned forward you'd be in the van. She leaned forward and she was like, "Are you in recovery?" And I was like,
Mhm.
"How do I answer that?" Because I'm young. I'm
Yeah.
like, so, and I wasn't in recovery, but I didn't want her to discredit me. Like, okay, you're not a veteran, you're not a woman,
Mhm.
you look
Mhm.
real young, like, and you're not in recovery. Like, how can you help me?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
What did you say?
I looked at my supervisor, like, how do I answer this? And he was like, how
Uh-huh.
he gave a very clinical. He said, how does that impact your recovery?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Which
That's a
I
good one.
think,
That's a good
yeah, now I would just say no, but because I'm more
one.
confident. But back then I was like, I don't know how to answer that. I mean, I know the
Yeah.
answer, but I didn't know how to
Hmm.
answer that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
For
I
sure.
feel
For
like
sure.
with your personality, I feel like your clients could try to befriend you like more if you don't set a boundary.
Yes, yes. Boundaries are my babies.
Yeah.
And I've had clients that have been like that, like, thank you for letting me pay you to be my best friend type. You know what I mean? Because, it can feel very conversational, it can feel like this is
Yeah.
it doesn't fit the idea of what they expected from therapy. So for me, I'm very much so in being authentic, showing up as myself and not feeling like I gotta take that off and put that on in the therapeutic
Hmm.
setting, because we connect when we're real, like real recognize
Yeah.
real. So if I'm trying to put on, it's just gonna be pointless. We're just gonna be beating around the bush and not necessarily doing good work. When my clients approach it that way, like feeling like we're friends, I'm like, yeah, but we ain't.
So you
And
let
this
them
is
know.
good. Yeah, girl, we ain't friends. Well, but letting them know that's when I use that space to let them know their progress.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Okay.
we have talking, but this is what you came in with, and this is what you're dealing with, and this is how you've grown and developed
Mm,
since you started. So it's not like a regular friendship type
yeah.
situation. We're actually doing work. It just doesn't feel like work a lot of times.
That's how you know you good. Cause you helping people and they're not even realizing all the help that they're getting because they're like, I'm about to go kick it with my homegirl. Me and Yunetta got an hour or two. We about to chop it up. But really, they're healing, and they just happen to pay you in the process.
Yeah. Sounds like a win. It's a win to me.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, because again, your personality, even us being on this call today, I'm like, dang, you at the office. That look like, could be a living room. Like, it's so homey. So I can only imagine what it's like in session.
Yeah. I'm big on, I know we'll get into EMDR later, but I'm big on stabilization, and us feeling comfortable and safe and stable. And I feel like the more comfortable you are, the deeper you can go, the more you can kind of address those things, just kind of thinking about, that polyvagal stuff and the ventral vagal being open and feeling safe. You can't get into your trauma if you don't feel comfortable with the person across from you.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna happen.
So what if somebody is really having a hard time opening up? Like, what do you do to help them relax and get into that space where they can talk to you?
Yeah, so I start off letting them know in my intake, I'm very thorough about the atmosphere that I want to create in the therapeutic setting. Like, I want to hear the things that they think, but not say out loud, and kind of giving them permission and space to do that. I let people know that if I say anything that's offensive to you or that kind of rubs you the wrong way, or if you feel some type of way about it, can you let me know? And if you don't let me know in that moment, I do like session reviews. So after the session, they can let me know, like they can send, I send an email. Hey, how did this go? Did you feel like you were heard? Did you feel like all of these things? And what I find is most of the time they will mark everything as being like fine, but then like probably like that fourth or fifth session in, one of them would be like a little over to the side. Like, oh, what happened right there? What went on? And bring it back up to them. And then, if a client lets me know, hey, when you said that, that's not what I meant. I'm like, thank you. I appreciate you letting me know that, and just allowing that space for them to feel comfortable with, like, knowing that they can say how they feel, and there isn't going to be any kind of retaliation, or, it's not going to make things awkward and weird. And the more you do that, then they start doing, saying how they feel a lot.
No, that's really good that you even think about that, because I always tell my clients, like, hey, I'll ask you for feedback, and but I like how you do it. You send them something they can fill out on their own time after they can process it, and then they do bring stuff up to you.
Yeah, and if they say they didn't feel heard, I want to come back around and say, what happened? What did I say or do, or how did you not feel heard? And sometimes, I've had people say, when you kind of were explaining my parents, maybe their perspective or what they had been through, I felt like you weren't looking at my situation or validating me, and I'm gonna take that and go with it.
So I know therapists, we have feelings too. So you're asking them for feedback. How did you become super comfortable receiving that feedback from your clients?
It's not about me, and if it's something, I found that if it's something that causes me to feel some type of way, then that's the area that I need to talk to my therapist about.
So you got your own therapist.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm in the check-in. I mean, depending on what's happening in my life, I may be like, okay, we need to be meeting weekly or every other week. Right now, I'm like just kind of checking in once a month, because things are pretty solid and even right now. But I'm a firm believer that we can only take people as far as we willing to go ourselves. And if I'm not willing to do the work and really get vulnerable and know what it feel like to be on the other side of that couch, then I can't expect my clients to do that.
It's so different on the other side of the couch, though.
Ooh, it's
like
different.
It's so
like,
different.
Ooh.
Right. It's so different. Like, being a therapist and having a therapist, it's like, okay, let me be open, let me be real, let me put it out there. But it's needed. And I found too, like you said, the more work we do with ourselves, the better we can serve our clients.
Yeah. And I think it's different too, because like we know what it is. right? Before it comes out of our mouth,
Oh.
we already know. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I know how this is about to sound, and I know what this is connected to, but I
Mm-hmm.
still have to go through the process.
Yeah, and
You
because
know?
we human, and I think I remember I was getting supervision from somebody. Ooh, this was about 10 years ago, and I was telling my supervisor about a client situation. I said, well, his mom is a therapist or something along those lines. He was like, so that doesn't mean that they can't X Y Z A B C. So hey,
Yeah.
he it's like that. He didn't care nothing about that.
Yeah, he's
Like
like,
that,
and what is that? That means they're exempt from being, harmful to their kids, or
right?
having those human experiences. So, yeah, it feels different. It makes a big difference. But I work with a lot of therapists too, which
I
I
saw
didn't.
that.
I work with a lot of therapists, and we have this thing where, we recognize having on that therapist hat and then taking it off and just being human.
Mhm.
So we'll talk about that. Like, when you come in the room, I want you to take your therapist hat off and set it to the side. And when we're talking about things, I'm asking, like, you got your therapist hat on right now? Or
Right.
okay, you want to take it off? Or, sometimes we need to put it on, because I need for you to look at this situation as if you were there. Listen to what you're saying with your therapist hat on, and what would you say, like, to your client?
Mm.
Okay, now
Yeah.
take it off. Let's work through it.
Right.
So it's understanding the duality of those roles and being able to, like, navigate it.
With you doing so much, how do you avoid burnout?
The grace of God.
Well, like, let's be real. Have you
Yeah.
been burnt out before?
Oh, absolutely.
How did you know?
Absolutely. Because I was all over the place, because I was irritable,
Hmm.
because my creativity felt stifled. I'm a very creative person. I love to, like, imagine and have ideas, and when I feel dry,
Hmm.
I know, or disconnected, that's when I know, okay, you're burning out.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and I've been there several times. I
Yeah.
know how to recover, but that doesn't always mean that I do it in enough time, or, you know what I
I
mean?
I feel like as
Sometimes I wait
therapists,
until it's
I feel like good therapists get burnt out quicker. I'm just gonna put that out there.
gone.
Like, I'm
Yeah,
just
that
saying
fire
because
going. The fire going so strong.
because people are like, hey, I want to work with you. I want you to come. Can you come speak
Mhm,
here? Can you come do this? Or even like maybe your friends are calling you, family's calling you, like everybody's calling you,
mhm.
and they're not calling you
Yeah.
because you gonna give them some bad therapy, or you're not. They're calling you because they trust you, and they're like, I want to
Mhm.
work with you. I want you to listen. You can give them all the referrals you want, but people are like, hey, put me on the list.
Yeah, yeah. And when you have those connections with people, it's hard. It
Yeah.
can be really hard to say no. And when you are a good therapist, like, and you're coming from a, like, genuine, authentic place of wanting to see people healed, whole, and restored, it feels difficult to just to say no,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. So, for me, I've had to, my favorite thing to do is say, let me get back with you. And that,
Cause
I mean, I don't leave them. I don't leave them hanging and not get. I used
oh, I was
to
gonna say because I'll
just
forget.
disappear.
I,
I used to disappear, but I say that to get, because I know my inclination is just to say yes.
yeah.
So I have to give myself space to validate, is that yes appropriate? You
Mm-hmm.
know, so let me check my schedule. Do I even want to do this? Who are they speaking to? Is this aligned with the people that I want to, like, talk to or support?
Yeah.
They'll say, we want you to
That-
come talk to farmers somewhere. And I'm like, I mess with it. Like, why are we talking to them?
have
You
you
know
ever
what I
s-
mean? Fine.
have you ever said yes and you like I should have definitely not said
Oh
yes to
yeah.
this.
Hmm. And the whole time I'm like, ugh, why did I
Yeah.
say yes to this? Yeah.
Eh,
Yeah, that's the worst.
that's the worst. And sometimes that can happen with
Mhm.
clients too.
Oh yeah. Oh
Sometimes
yeah.
it's not a great
Mhm.
fit. It has to be a good fit both ways. And I was
Mhm.
talking to a friend of mine, and he was saying with his first session, he was like, we're evaluating each other. Like, am I a good fit for you? And if you're a good fit for me. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like that because
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
everybody is like, you have an ideal person you work with, right?
Mhm.
Who is that
Yeah.
person?
Yeah. Leaders. So I
Mm-hmm.
like to work with leaders. I like to work with people who who touch and impact multiple like people, like layers, right? Because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like for me, if we can operate from the head and we can have healthy leaders, then we have healthy organizations, we have healthy families. So that's
Mm,
leaders in terms of like, because I'm in the military community, so it may be like officers or people in the military. It could be leaders as far as like the matriarch or patriarch of families, the people who are other people are dependent on them to show
yeah.
up.
Mm-hmm.
So most of those folks typically have, in my experience, lots of childhood trauma and things that have developed them to be very good in leadership, but then also not be very good at taking care of themselves.
Yeah. You know, leaders,
Mm-hmm.
they know how to take on a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They can take on a lot and still perform at a high level, and nobody will know that they're going through what they're going through because they know how to hide it and be
Mm-hmm.
resilient, keep pushing, especially the
Mm-hmm.
military community and executives and leaders in their family. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
dope population.
Yeah,
They need your
for
support.
sure. For sure, for sure. Yeah. Spiritual
Yeah.
leaders too, big time. Because there's a
Yeah.
lot that goes
I
on.
saw you. I saw pastors on your website.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah.
work with them and, ministers or just people in faith, communities of faith, just in general. Um, because, just kind of breaking that stigma that we can have both. You can be spiritual, you can be connected to God, you can have Jesus, you can still go to therapy and work through
Mm.
those emotion wounds and things. So
Now, what got
yeah.
you connected with EMDR? I've been waiting to get into it.
Yeah. So EMDR, it's funny because one of my therapist friends was like,
Uh-huh.
hey, because I was at the point where I was kind of feeling burned out. I was like, "Ugh, I need a new training. I need
Mm-hmm.
something because I'm feeling kind of like stagnant with my clients. And I've always been centered around trauma. But I wasn't seeing like we would make progress, but then it would be like back at square one. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
what is going on here? So she found it. She did all the work. She found the EMDR training and was like, I found a good one. I want you to go with me or whatever. So I was like, okay, cool. We're going to go to training. EMDR training tore me up. I was like, yo, I thought I knew this stuff was in my past and I talked
Yeah.
about it. I had been in, therapy, but it hadn't had any like EMDR therapy. And the way my feelings and my experience came up around things that I had talked about forever and that I had been like really disconnected and desensitized to, I was like, oh, this the real deal.
Mm.
Oh,
So
oh.
EMDR kind of wowed you. You were like, hey.
Yeah, I was like, yo, this is real. Like, in my training experience, I've always been like terrified of dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And in my, I have a dog now, and I've had her since she was puppy, got her from my daughter, when she was younger. So she Black Hope. You probably see her on
I seen her,
at times.
yeah. Because
Black Hope.
what's your breed is it a doodle?
She looks like a schnauzer, but she's like mixed with like 4 different dogs.
Okay.
She, yeah, she's mixed with a whole bunch of stuff, but she looks like a schnauzer. But yeah, Black Hope has, I had an experience before my EMDR training where I was walking her, and this lady in the neighborhood, her pit bull got out, and I love all dogs, I love pit bulls, but this one was huge and
Mm.
loose and attacked my dog.
Whoa.
So I'm screaming like somebody come and it was to the point where I was tired and I don't know how long I was going to be able to fight her off. Like it was like it's either going to be me or my dog. Like
Yeah.
it was serious. And it was one point where the dog looked at me like, okay, you want that, you want something, like you
Yeah.
gonna
So
keep. Yeah, so finally a little girl came out and she was like, I was like, do you know who this? She went and rang the lady's doorbell. The lady came out, got her dog. But my dog had to have like a couple surgeries. Like you could
oh
see her
man.
pain was shaking. I mean, it was bad. So
Dang.
after that experience, I realized I was like edgy on edge. I couldn't, I didn't want to walk anymore. I didn't want to walk her dog. I had stopped exercising. It made me feel anxious just to like the losing my breath triggered me. So if I would exert
Right, because
myself,
that
that made me,
reminded you of when you were walking your dog.
yeah, it connected to it. So that's what I chose to process in training.
Okay.
While I was processing it, it took me all the way back to a memory when I thought I was like 5 or 6 or something. But when I asked my mom about it, she was like, "You were 3. You were like 2 or 3. You remember that?" And I was like, "It came up in training." I was like, I had so my mama was a Jehovah Witness, okay?
Okay.
So Cleveland, Ohio, that's where I'm
Right.
from. Jehovah Witness, we going door to door, knocking on people, telling them about the coming of Jehovah, and
So I
got
don't know
me
why
with her.
Friday popped in my mind when you said that.
Yeah, so that was my life. That's what we were doing, going door to door.
Yeah.
And while going door to door, we were in this apartment complex, and this big Doberman got loose and chased us up about 3, 4 flight of stairs in the apartment complex. All of that came up when I was processing
So you
the
talking about a
trauma.
memory from, because I know you only 25. So you talking about 20 years ago.
Look at you, so kind.
Dang. That's how,
Listen, yeah.
and this is in training.
Memory
This is not even
forward.
you one-on-one.
This is in training. That my brain instantly went to the origin of that fear, what it was connected to. And I was able to see I could see the color of the paint, I could hear everything, like it was very vivid. And the part that of course I did a bunch of processing around it, was other things connected to it. But the part that connected was the moment when I looked at my mom's face and I knew that like danger, like I knew like we in
Yeah.
trouble. This serious. I had never seen that face, that she made. So of course I was able to process through it, and I said I could take my dog on a walk now. I haven't been able to reprocess her. She's still
Yeah.
getting antsy around dogs and stuff. But when I had that experience and I was able to like desensitize that, I was like, yeah, this is the real deal.
Dang, yeah, that's trauma though. Like from what you experienced
Mhm.
as a child and then walking Black Hope. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Black Hope, I almost say make it. And it could have been worse, but yeah. And
how
of
did
course there were
you
several other
I was
incidents. Like I had other dog incidents throughout my life that kind of connected to that experience, where I felt like
okay.
I wasn't safe, that came up too.
I was gonna say, like, how did you get the dog off of you? That's a pit bull.
Yeah. I mean, I was maneuvering, until I could, as much as I could. And then when the owner came out, she called the dog, and then she had to
Hmm.
come, and then the dog went away.
Man,
Mm.
we got to talk about that's crazy. That's
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
right. So
It was a lot.
that's how you figured out EMDR was the truth. And then
Mhm.
you've been sold ever since.
I've been sold ever since. Yeah, I had so many. It was some other things that came up like in that training. So I started using it with my clients.
Mm-hmm.
I started seeing, their results, and seeing things that like we have been talking about for months, some clients years. And then once we reprocessed the memory, then they were like, you know what? I am good enough. And I'm like, let's talk about this. Yeah, that's what I've been trying to tell
Wow.
you, right? So I was seeing just that accelerated process for them of being able to see themselves differently, make different choices, really actually heal,
Yeah.
from the experience to where they didn't need to come anymore,
What
So
what other modalities were you using before?
before I was a lot of CBT, a lot of trauma focused CBT,
Mm-hmm.
um, used some ACT therapy, some
Okay.
acceptance therapy. I used a lot of that, and some DBT.
So then you went to
Mhm.
say, hey, I'm gonna go with EMDR, which is for trauma. Like we gonna get right to it. Does everybody
Yeah,
get?
and I use everything.
I was gonna say, does everybody get EMDR? Like, who's appropriate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everyone gets, because that's my lens, like that's the
Mm-hmm.
way I view from a trauma informed perspective. Everybody's gonna get an element of EMDR. We may
Okay.
not reprocess with everybody, but you're gonna get something that really aligns with the process of how we heal trauma. And I can do that through talk therapy
Okay.
sometimes, but a lot of resourcing, grounding, preparation, like just psychoeducation about the function of the body and how we process memories and all that. Everybody gonna get that.
Dang. I was gonna ask, like, is there a session number protocol for EMDR?
There's 8 phases of
Okay.
the process of EMDR, but how those phases play out are going to look different for everybody, depending on how they show up or what they come up with, what they come in the room
Yeah.
with. So, for a lot of clients that have complex trauma, for a lot of Black and Brown folks, we don't necessarily get that psychoeducation around like really being able to normalize your experiences and knowing that
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing wrong with you. This is how your body is supposed to function and respond to traumatic events. So I take a lot of time to kind of normalize that experience, for them. So with a lot of my Black and Brown clients, we move in and out, of the protocol because that's just how we flow, you know.
So how do you maintain, because I know when you talk about trauma, sometimes people will drop out because it gets intense. So how do
Mm-hmm.
you decrease your dropout rates and increase the
Mm-hmm.
retention rate?
Yeah. One thing I always say is before we go to a traumatic experience, we need to make sure we're prepared for it. So
How do you prepare them?
we prepare by, which is like phase 2 of EMDR, which is the preparation phase or resourcing. So I get my clients comfortable with modulating between feeling distress and then feeling stabilization. So if I'm upset about something or if something bothers me and I can learn how to breathe and regulate my nervous system, then
Mm-hmm.
I trust myself a little bit more to be able to go into this traumatic stuff, right? Because I have tools and skills and knows when I get activated, I know how to breathe and regulate, right? So
Okay.
I work on preparation first and just bringing up everyday things, minute things that maybe like the dishes or traffic. And then we
Yeah.
practice working that muscle, with the small things. So then when we get to the big stuff, you have a point of reference.
Basically, so you get them like it's a warm up before you just max out.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not just gonna go run a
Right.
you have to, and that's life, right? You have
Yeah.
to prepare for that next phase or for that next thing. And I think a lot of times why people don't want to go to therapy is because people come in and tell me your worst first, the most horrible thing that happened to you, and then they send them home. And now I'm
Mm-hmm.
still thinking about, I don't have, like, I leave it, I suppress this because it's too much.
Yeah.
And then I come to therapy and you open me all the way up, but you don't give me the tools to be able to contain that,
Right. Because
So
some
being very,
protocols they go there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's harmful,
Yeah. I just
it's harmful.
hey, Yunetta, you to go. So tell us about the EMDR retreat, right? It's in Vegas.
Yeah. So it will be the scheduling, we're looking around November, around
Okay.
that time. Don't nobody really want to go to Vegas in the summer. We're not trying
Oh,
to
too hot.
we're not trying to die out there.
Man,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah. I'm building a retreat just because I feel like we do so much work as therapists.
Yeah.
So like if we can find times and pockets and spaces to like grow, take care of ourselves and do that in like dope, beautiful
Right.
places, like why we can't have the best of both worlds?
So we
Why
could
we got to be sitting in a room
yeah.
with a, in a stuffy room sitting
It's
up learning? Why we can't learn in our natural fun environment? So
it's gonna be so
yeah.
dope though. Like I was just thinking, like, okay, you get to party, gamble if
Mm-hmm.
that's what you want to do, whatever you're gonna do, and then the
Mhm.
wake up the next morning and learn EMDR.
Yeah. I think it's a cool way to integrate the two, have
Yeah.
fun, have that community, connect with other therapists, learn. My training specifically is centered around addressing diversity and understanding how to like be sensitive and mindful of culture as you're
Okay.
working through trauma. Because I think that causes a lot of harm, if you don't understand that person's culture and background and their beliefs, and you're going in telling them things that aren't culturally appropriate, that could create some challenges. So we talk about how
Yeah.
to navigate that.
No, you're absolutely right. I put a Facebook post, or not Facebook, Instagram post about that a couple weeks ago, and a lot of people were saying that they were offended during the intake, and they were like,
Hmm.
they're not coming back. They're like, I tried it once, or I tried it twice. I'm not. They were like, it's just a wrap now. So
Yeah, and that's sad.
I
That's
know,
really
because they're
sad
just dealing
to.
with it.
It takes a lot for somebody to come to therapy. Especially, I work with a lot of Black women, and the amount of time that they deal with whatever it is that they're dealing with, before they make that call to come to therapy, it's a long time.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
it's usually
it's a long
years.
time. It's usually years. When we go back and say, like, when did you notice that you started
Mm-hmm.
feeling this way? A lot of times it's like when I was in middle school, when I was in high school, when I first went to college, and you're 40 and 50. So you've been holding this for like 20 years, So
Yeah,
for that person to actually gain the courage to come in the room and reach out to somebody and then be offended at the jump, like that's not okay.
it's not. No, I mean,
Yeah.
people deal with it for 40, like you said, 50, 60 years.
Hmm.
And other populations, they don't wait that long.
Mm-mm. Nope,
They're like, hey,
not at
sign me up.
all.
I need to get this addressed. So,
Yeah, a lot of times with my other clients, they're coming back again.
mm-hmm.
I'm in high school, or when I was in college, I went, and I'm dealing with something, so I'm back again.
Yeah.
Um, but I see a lot of first time
Yeah. For us,
therapy goers.
we coming in brand new.
Yeah,
Brand new, and
hitting
don't
40
get
and
it.
30.
Yeah. And don't get it wrong either. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And there's a grief that comes with that too, like knowing that I've been carrying this and dealing with this or thinking this way for so long, and that wasn't necessarily true
Yeah.
or the right way. So then we got to navigate that.
It's lost all around, man. Like,
Mhm.
I feel like I'm getting free therapy just talking to you about it.
Yeah, that's what we do.
I know,
We
right? Has anybody ever got a free session out of you? I want to ask you that. Like it was organic, but you walk away like, man, I think they just got a session up out of me.
Like, did I just get him therapy? Probably. Yeah, probably
Yeah,
all the time. Yeah.
yeah.
Especially if you get me talking about something that I'm passionate about, or, yeah,
Hmm.
then I just get to talking, and I'm like, I should have invoiced them.
Right, right. So, what do you do
Yeah.
now for self care?
Oh, for self-care, so many things. I love being outside in nature.
Mm.
So I'm a
So wait,
tourist.
you
So
like cold weather?
sometimes I get out in cold weather. I don't like it,
Okay, you do.
no.
Oh,
But
okay.
if I am feeling like I need to go outside, like ground myself, and I'll bundle up and go for a walk. When I was running, I don't run too much. I don't run no more. Them days is over. We just walking.
You walk fast.
But yeah, just walking as fast as we can now. But when I used to run, I could run longer, in cold weather. It's like,
I
you
heard
know.
that too. I'm like, I never want to try it, but I hear people always saying that they can run. I'm like, I'm
You
definitely not
should
a
try it. You should
my
try it. It's for me, it was fascinating. I was like, girl,
probably because you cold. You trying to warm up.
right, trying to get home faster or something, trying to get back,
Yeah.
you know.
Below 50,
But
I'm
yeah,
straight. I'm straight.
yeah, yeah, I feel you. I feel you. But yeah,
uh
grounding naps
oh,
too.
naps. Yeah.
Naps,
Yeah,
yeah.
I saw you said what did you put on Facebook? Was it yesterday? You
Hmm.
debating about going to bed. It was like 8 o'clock or something.
Yeah, at 7:30. I was like, this is not okay. Like, I need to find a reason why it's not okay to go to bed at 7:30. Because I was tired. Like, I'll sleep in a minute. That's like my sleeping is my solution. And it's more so if I feel stuck in the area, or if it's probably just because my body is, I use the HALT acronym. Are you hungry,
Oh
angry, lonely,
yeah.
tired? Yeah. So in most cases, after I get a little nap in or something, I'm like, okay, I was just tired, you know?
Yeah. I
So
forgot all about. I
yeah.
ain't heard that one in so long. Cause that's
Yeah,
when you
you hear
work
a
with
lot with
substance abuse,
recovery.
yeah, with recovery,
Uh-huh.
you hear that all the time. Which one is it? Pick
Mm-hmm.
one. You better not do
Yep.
nothing if you're hungry, angry, lonely. Yep.
Yep. Yep. Yep. It alters your perspective and your perception of what's in front of you.
Mhm. There was something else I was gonna ask you. Like this has been one of just a dope conversation. You took us through
Mm-hmm.
EMDR, how great that is, and I like the fact that you put it in with basically you said everybody get a little sprinkle of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you about. So let people know you're on Rickey Smiley Show every Tuesday. Talk it out Tuesday.
Yeah.
Talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Talk It Out Tuesday. We've been doing that. I think we're going on 3 years. Um, where we just wanting to, it was after the first time I hopped on was after the death of Kobe Bryant.
Mm,
And they wanted like a mental health perspective around grief and how to navigate that. And then that was needed, and they got a good response from that. So we started doing the Talk It Out Tuesdays, where every Tuesday we just have a different topic. I usually have a theme for the month, and then we
yeah.
just kind of help to normalize like it's okay to go to therapy, and just giving people practical tools. And it's been fun. And then
Well,
the morning show,
yeah,
they
it's so organic. Like y'all be on there cutting
uh-huh.
up.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you got to stay a professional, Yunetta, because sometimes I want to go in with them, and I'm like,
Right.
okay, that's going to offend somebody, so just let them do their job, and you just do
You do.
yours,
Yeah.
okay? So yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
it's so
fun.
funny to stay professional. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was talking about putting therapy out there more. He was like, y'all should do some things like you walk up to somebody on the street and ask them what they go to therapy and what's their trauma. And I was like, yes,
Hmm.
that would be good clickbait, but I was like, that may not be right ethically, right? Like, what are they
Yeah,
doing with
because
that? But I
then
think
you're
he
gonna be
said that
sitting there.
because, yeah, they see so many people doing stuff like that are not
Hmm.
trained or licensed professionals, and they're like, "Well, shoot, if they can do it, why can't you do it?"
Hmm. And it's like, because we got a whole license that could be in jeopardy
Yeah,
if we just out there willy-nilly. But I guess someone else could do it if they weren't,
yeah, they can.
just
Yeah,
a
they already doing it.
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. See, to tell us everything else you got going on because I know you got more stuff too. What else is up?
Yeah. So I actually have a retreat that still has some openings that's coming up here soon in June. So it's the Uncommon BIPOC Retreat, and I'll be one of the speakers there. And there'll be other speakers, and it's specifically for BIPOC entrepreneurs, whether you're in therapy or another type of entrepreneur, just really helping you to be able to identify barriers and blocks or just kind of get some insight and experience around some of the challenges that we have, unique challenges we have as BIPOC entrepreneurs. So that'll be coming
Yeah,
up in June, and I'll have it all on my social to promote it if anybody's interested in it.
yeah. I'm gonna have to put it in the show notes. June, where is it gonna be, or is it virtual?
It's going to be in Serenbe. Don't that's one thing that you may not. Most people don't. I mess up words. I'm
Oh,
notorious about messing up.
what
And
state is
so
it in? What
it's
state?
in Georgia.
Oh, okay, all
Serenbe,
right. Serenbe.
Serenbe, one of the two. It's in Georgia somewhere, but it's a beautiful resort.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
beautiful resort, and it's the 7th through the 11th, I believe, are the dates, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it'll
Okay.
be a dope experience.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, what's something that I did not ask you, but people should know about you?
That's a good question. I don't know. feel like we covered a lot. We covered so much. I can't think of anything,
All
you
right.
know.
What should
It's
people know that's coming up? I know we know about Vegas in the fall. How can people
mhm.
get in touch with you too? Like if they want to work with
Yeah,
you.
yeah. So I work with maybe that's one thing. I do work with therapists in terms of helping them get certified and become consultants, because that's one of my mission, to get more Black and Brown therapists certified in EMDR and becoming consultants. Because I know when I was looking for a consultant, I couldn't find one that looked like me. When
Mm,
I was in training, I didn't see too many people that looked like me in different, spaces. And I'm like, now hold up, we got a lot of trauma, and this is a
yeah.
effective, proven trauma, treatment approach. And I don't see nobody that look like me.
Yeah, I'm
So
gonna
I
pull
was
up to
like,
the
that's
next one. I'm gonna have to get with you.
yeah, for sure, for sure. It's probably a lot of stuff that a lot of clinicians are already doing, but just understanding the framework and integrating it into how we naturally heal.
Right.
Um, you just see progress so much faster. It
Yeah.
just helps so much. So that's one of my missions. I also do coaching with therapists as far as like business coaching, helping
Hmm.
them to kind of see some of the barriers that they have, kind of pulling in some of the elements of EMDR, and how those childhood wounds kind of impact us professionally as well.
Hmm.
So I do that. Um, so I think that's it. You want to find me? I'm on social at Yunetta
Yeah,
Spring.
definitely. Yeah, follow Yunetta because you be cutting up over there.
Yeah, yeah. So Yunetta Spring, you might see a little cut up on Yunetta Spring and on TikTok. And then Groundbreakers Therapy is all about EMDR
Mm,
and that type of stuff. And then Springforthcounseling is my practice. So
got it.
those are kind of the three places where you can find me on social. And then YunettaSpring.com is my website, and that'll take you to everything.
Yeah, Yunetta, this has been dope. We're gonna have to reconnect too after I get certified in EMDR
Yeah,
so I
for
can have some
sure.
stories too, talk about it.
Yes, for sure. And if you ever have any, questions or want to know about trainings and stuff like that, or anybody, I do like those discovery calls. If you just want to say, hey, I want to know more about where I can get trained, um, I'm more than happy and open to share that.
Yeah. Man, well, thank y'all. This has been another dope episode. Thank you, Yunetta, for coming on here and just really
For having
blessing the
me.
podcast. Yeah, this has been dope.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you. Appreciate how you show up, your
Yeah.
confidence, your
Yeah.
dancing. I'm like, what Jason doing dancing today? What message you got for us today? So I appreciate you, being authentic and showing up. It brightens my day as well as a lot of other people, I'm sure.
Oh, I appreciate it. For real, for real.
Mhm.